What's going on, guys? I am back a lot earlier than I thought I was for my trip out of town. I had a very good time, but I was lucky enough to get back in time to be able to get this Mushoku Tensei video episode review out in a timely manner. So, I usually do, I just finished watching episode 6 of season 2 of Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. I don't want to die. I thought it was a very good episode. Obviously, uh, we got a lot of studio buying showcasing how well they can animate when really put to it. But I think this one was more of like just showcasing, obviously, Sylphie and Rudius's like rekindling because they've already reunited, right? So now they're just like, kind of rekindling this whole thing. So I know a lot of things. A lot of people are going to get mad at it. I'm even experiencing this in the Five Pillars of Anime Facebook group. Is the fact that how come Rudy doesn't recognize that it's Sylphie? And I want to say for us audience, we recognize it, right? Because we've seen what Sylphie has technically been doing for in the time that her and Rudy were apart from each other. So we know Rudy doesn't. So like I remember, like I said last week, okay? Rudius, the last time he saw Sylphie, she was she was a quiet, scared little girl who was just like really coming out of her shell after being bullied, right? And he just taught her magic to teach her magic. And that was how it was going to be. He was going to like take her ironically to the academy with him, and they were going to study magic and who knows, get married, have kids, blah, 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 right? Then he obviously, Paul sends him to go tutor Eris, and the teleportation incident happens, and everything's changed, okay? Obviously, Sylphie was one of the people who were fortunate enough, even though she was still dangerous, she landed in the Asuran capital, saved Ariel, and became part of her retinue, or one of her followers. We know what Rudy was doing. Rudy, Eris, and Roy Jared were fighting for their lives, just trying to get back home. Okay, Rudy technically almost died once when Orsted had him join the whole the whole gang, whatever that Ace and other people are part of Ace Goku, whatever. The only reason he didn't die was because of another character that saved Rudius. So there's a lot of things have happened. We don't need to talk about what Eris did after their first time. We don't need to talk about his trauma with Sarah and all the other stuff. You know, a lot has happened. See, a lot has happened, and I want you to understand that like they haven't just changed physically; they've changed mentally as well. And from how we've seen Silent Fits, right? This quiet, obviously she doesn't talk, so she doesn't reveal that she's a woman, but this quiet, no nonsense, at least that's the reputation she has at the academy, this quiet, no nonsense person who is guarding Princess Ariel, right? But all of a sudden she sees Rudy, and she's kind of like back to a way she doesn't know how to approach him. Realistically, the only reason we're waiting is that we're waiting for Sylphie to fucking say something, because I think it's kind of unfair for a lot of people to expect Rudy to see that is Rudy, just to Rudy to see that Fitz is Sylphie because of his last memory of her. Ain't no way Rudy, at least this is my opinion, ain't no way Rudy could anticipate that Sylphie would be the mage, like attendant to a princess. There's no way he would think that, right? And I can see why a lot of people are not going to like this part of the story. They're going because it's basically like a waiting game. It feels like a waiting game, which is admittedly my first run through, especially of that volume, was like a waiting game. But like I said, it's all very important. Okay, let's start with when he first got to school, and how Sylphie saved him when the panties flew out and he caught them, saved him from all those other girls, and he was turning into a situation he was really like used to before. But Sylphie came out and saved him. Okay, Sylphie's giving him all these ideas to help Zanobo with his problem, because I didn't say last time, Zanobo is a Miko. Which means they have like extra special powers. And his thing, he has super strength, and especially when he was younger, he didn't know how to use it, which is something that is mentioned again in this episode. But we'll keep going. So all I'm asking, to not get off track, all I'm asking is that you guys just be more patient. Just be more patient and just kind of roll with the story for now. The story's great. The story's great. You're just not gonna. I know. One of the things I was hear some people say is like, I wish there was more action. I was like, there will be more action, but when the action comes, you're gonna enjoy it way more because of what led up to the action. I promise you. I promise you, you will. So right now, it's all about like they. I'm gonna use Fitz just to make it simpler, at least from. Oh, no, I'm gonna use Sylphie. Sorry. So obviously, Sylphie and Rudy have now developed this bond. As it seems like Sylphie's just trying to work her way back up to saying, "Hey, Rudy, it's actually me, Sylphie." All right. I think, but at this point, she's noticed. I think the one thing I wanted you guys to notice from this episode is how much, like, Rudy's experiences have changed him. Right. Zanoba, I assure he's like an unwanted prince, but he's still royalty. Sylphie, by all intents and purposes, just kind of looking from the outside looking in, is living a pretty cushy life. Sure, she has to defend Ariel from dangers, but she's living a pretty cushy life. Okay. And we've already known that Rudy has been basically fighting ever since the teleportation incident. So when obviously Rudy tries to teach Zanoba how to make those little fucking sculptures, but he can't because his magic power is just too out of whack, and it's hard. So they decide on, ironically, Sylphie's like suggestion to go buy a slave. And I think a lot of people, when they're gonna get here, it's just gonna brush past them. But I think I want you to understand how even Mushoku Tensei had handled that slave kind of scene. Okay. Obviously, slavery is bad. And you can even see Rudy's face as he walked through that. He noticed the sorry state, but realistically, what can he do? It's like the show made a really good way of making that scene not feel that crazy. Because how many times whenever you see slavery, it's one of those things, like loner loser boy gets isekai'd, immediately goes and buys a fucking slave. Like Shield Hero did it. So many other freaking ones do it. And he was just kind of like, I don't think normalize is the right thing to do, but it's there, but but while they're there, obviously they were looking for a certain type of person who can use magic to help Zanober make his figurines, and they find Julie. What a fantastic way to introduce her into the story. And while they're there, obviously Rudy's the only one, since he was on Demon Continent, he knows how to speak her language, right? So he's trying to talk to Julie, but Julie has that, it's like she's been a slave for so long that it's like she lost the will to live. And that monologue that Rudy has, where he's like, look, I could just end it for you right now. When he tells her that, he's like, look, you have this look where you've given up. He's like, I could just end it for you right now if that's what you want. And it's like this small mercy Rudy can give. And maybe Rudy understands that because of what he's went through in his life and what has happened to him since the teleportation incident. And when Sylphie and Rudy are talking about it, they just notice how nonchalant Rudy is. Like it's like there's just a breadth of knowledge that he has, obviously through experience, that Zanober and Sylphie don't have, and that's why they shirk away from it. So there was even a second where when he stops grabbing the chain and he grabs her freaking neck after, like, he's basically like, say something. He's like, I need you to tell me what you want to do. And then when Julie says, I don't want to die, and Rudy immediately is like, that's all I needed to hear. And it's like, he's not asking for anything revolutionary. It's just the fact that she's willing to take a step. And then he said this thing is like, I don't care that she's, okay, let me make sure I say this correctly. It's like, I don't care that she didn't say that I want to live, but just saying I don't want to die is good enough. And he has something he can build on. And then you got to see how Julie's life is going to be like after that. So she starts learning how to speak in the human tongue so that Zanober and her can, communicate better. Zanober, we know how fucking crazy he is about sculptures. So Rudy watching both of them and seeing them get to like develop better was awesome to see, And Julie, how can I say this without really spoiling anything? Julie is very important in a lot of ways to what's eventually where Mushoku Tensei is going to lead to. But also at the same time, she's going to be. But also at the same time, she's not. She's what's the right way to say this? You're gonna love Julie. That's what I think. You're gonna love Julie. If you loved, I feel like Mushoku Tensei has very strong side characters. I think you're gonna love Julie. But right now, she's gonna have to kick that. Oh, she's just like a slave that they bought, like stink. And then eventually, once she shows her prowess, you will definitely love her. But it was good. It was good to see that. Episode 7, that title was kind of ominous. What was it? The Kidnapping and Confinement of Beast Girls. So a little ominous. I saw that the anime did the opening and ending. I don't like it. No, I'm not saying the opening and ending themselves. They're good. They're very good. I just don't like the fact that Mushoku Tensei has that opening and ending now. I don't think it needs. It just doesn't feel right to me, especially with all the Mushoku Tensei we've got before, where it's like, yeah, you get like the ending song as the episode's finished, but that's it. Like they used to do, like you get a few landscapes, then the Mushoku Tensei logo would like cross dissolve in and the thing starting. So I think I'm just gonna have to get used to that, it having a proper opening and ending. Other than that, I mean, Elena Lise was up to her old tricks because she has that curse. She has to get laid or else she will die. And look, it's just what's going on. But things might be changing here in a couple episodes. That's all I'm gonna say. What else? Obviously, Rudy picking up on Sylphie, like, because he was like, oh, he takes this Sylphie, so it's just the slave thing, right? And Rudy's like, oh yeah, It's like, we all have a free day coming up. I'll just go with Zeno, but we'll go get a slave. And then she's like, well, I'm free too. And then he immediately picks up on it and he has that little smile. And she's like, you want to come too? And then it was like a weird way for Sylphie and Rudy to have like a date without having a date. And then she also learns that my boy is very experienced in a lot of things that she's not. It's not just the fact, it's not even like sexually, but it's like physically, it's his demeanor, it's how he feels around death. Like a lot of these things that Rudy showed off to both Zenobur and Sylphie, that Rudy's a lot more grown up, mature, and experienced than they thought. So I thought this episode really did a good job of that. Other than that, I got nothing else. This seems kind of open and shut for me. So anyway, guys, that was my review of episode 6. I Don't Want to Die. We got a very important side character introduced. We got to see some more Zanoba, which is at least I'm a big fan of it. Kind of crazy how committed he is to sculptures, as you can see. But hey, Rudy loves him. Rudy loves him just the same. Just one of those is like, we all got that one weird friend. So Zanoba is that one weird friend for Rudy. So other than that, things are just kind of picking up. I feel like I said before, a lot of people would be kind of frustrated with this episode because it's gonna feel like nothing substantial in their opinion really happened, when realistically all it is just setting the scene. That's all. Mushoku Tensei is very good at that, setting the scene. We did get some character, a lot more character interaction between Rudy and Sylphie. Julie's introduced again, but you'll see where all this will lead in the future. So all I can keep promising you is that maybe you will think this episode was mid now, but based on what's coming, you're going to come to appreciate this episode. So anyway, guys, let me stop padding. That was my review of episode 6, I Don't Want to Die. Episode 7, the kidnapping and disappearance of the episode 7, the kidnapping and confinement of Beast Girls. I am very curious by that title. A little ominous or whatever, but it's gonna be fun. So see you guys next week. Stay safe and thank you for watching / listening to my episode review.